This is a suggestibility test that you can actually do with people sitting down. You can do it with someone sitting in a chair if you want. You can do it with people standing up. Either one is fine. You just need to take into account small considerations for their personal safety. So if a person's sitting, they're good to go. If a person is standing, there is the tiny, tiny, tiny chance that they could actually, highly suggestible people could go into hypnosis just from doing an exercise like this. So just to help them be safe, you always want to instruct people who are standing like Evan is, that they want to have their feet shoulder width apart. That way they're stable and have a sense of balance. And I think it's also helpful often to say to people, we're just going to do a suggestibility test together, Evan. You're going to be aware and awake of yourself the whole time, and you'll keep yourself in perfect balance, okay? And you get that. Even just a nod like that is fine. So you set them up, feet shoulder width apart. I usually tell people too to put a little bend in their knees so that their legs don't get sore. If you lock out your knees, they tend to get achy, and I want people to be comfortable. So once you've got that checked, you can verbally affirm it. You say, great, awesome. And then say, what I want you to do, Evan, is just take your right hand and lift it up. Turn your right wrist, excellent, so that your right thumb points vertically straight up in the air. And then take your left hand, bring it up to the same level, but turn your left hand over so your left palm is flat up. And that's all you need to get it started position-wise. All right, I'm breaking this down step by step. And then what you're going to do is you're going to tell them what to expect. You want to create expectations. So say, Evan, the key to this assesses your level of suggestibility hypnotically, okay? So what I want you to do is, in order for this to be successful, I need you to imagine everything I say to you as realistically as you can inside your mind. Think of it like having a high-definition TV screen in your mind, okay? Good. Now you can take a nice easy breath in. Yep, you breathe out and let your eyes close. Good. And just focus on the sound of my voice. Now, imagine this high-definition TV screen of the mind. And really, it's your vision, it's your mind. And even though you know your eyes are closed, inside your mind, just imagine that you're still looking out your own eyes. Inside your mind, start at your right shoulder, look down over your right tricep and bicep, across your right elbow, over your right forearm, along your right wrist, and in your mind, see your right hand turned with your right thumb pointing straight up in the air. And you feel the position of that arm out in front of you. You know it's really there. Put feeling it and seeing it in your mind together. Integrate those experiences. Now, turn in your mind over to your left shoulder. Look at your left tricep and bicep, your left elbow, across your left forearm, over your left wrist. And if you can, Evan, in your mind, see the lines on your palm. See your palm flat up. Look at the lines on your palm. Look at any rings, watches, bracelets that might be there. Put the details there of what should be there. And you feel the position of that arm out in front of you for real. You know it's really there. Put feeling it for real and seeing it in your mind together. Integrate those experiences. Now, as if your eyes were a camera, turn back to the right and sort of zoom in on your right wrist. If you can, see the tendons in your right wrist, any blue vein lines in your right wrist, and zoom in on that area. Imagine that I come over to you and I tie a ribbon around your right wrist. It could be whatever color you want, your favorite color, a fun color. It could be whatever texture you want, and it can be tied tight, it could be tied loose, it could be tied just right. Whatever detail is good for you is good for me. Put those details there now for me, please. And then trace it with your eyes from where it's tied around your right wrist up into the air. Follow it up 1 foot with your eyes. Trace it inch by inch up 1 foot and then keep going to 2 feet. Go up 3 feet until you get to the other end, all the way up at the other end of your ribbon. And let's put balloons on the other end of the ribbon. 1 dozen, maybe 2 dozen balloons. And those balloons can be your favorite color. They can be a fun color, whatever's good for you. Make them big, make them full, make them really, really tight and full of helium. And helium's lighter than air. So all of these balloons want to float. They want to rise. They want to go right up into the world, into the air, into the world. They want to float and rise. And don't make it like a photo, Evan. When you watch them, make it like a movie. Let them sway back and forth. Floating, swaying, rising, getting lighter and lighter. The ribbon tugging on the wrist getting lighter, the arm getting lighter, everything wanting to drift and float upward. That's right, lighter and lighter. Now, in your mind, turn down and look to your left palm. And imagine that I come by and I put the biggest book, the biggest dictionary you've ever seen on your left palm now. Big, heavy dictionary, 4 inches thick, has a big, thick, dusty cover on it, has every word in the English language. It's a massive, heavy book, the biggest dictionary you've ever seen. And it's pressing, pushing down on that left hand, the whole left arm getting heavier and heavier. And of course, wanting to go down, down, down as it gets heavier and more tired. And as it gets more and more tired, you may feel it start to tingle or itch or maybe even burn a little bit in the muscles. And that's fine. It's not your job to hold that book up. It's your job to feel the feeling of tiredness, heaviness coming into that arm. That's right. But where are your balloons? Turn and look up to the right again. Find those balloons. Are they up 5 feet, 6 feet, 7 feet, maybe 8 feet tall, floating, swaying, rising, lighter and lighter on the right hand as that left hand gets heavier and heavier and heavier. That's right, Evan. And on the count of 3, you're going to just have 1, 2, 3, awake. And there we stop. Now we've got immediate, okay? Evan's got separation. And as soon as he opens his eyes, he sees this. Now, that's the basic overlay of it. Let's go over the finer points. Well, not finer points, maybe isn't the best way to say it, but what you're looking for as you do this. If you're doing this with an individual, it's easier because you can assess that individual, and Evan, you can let your arms relax. Thank you so much. You can assess the individual on multiple levels by giving all of your attention to them. So as I'm doing this with Evan, what I'm looking for is, and here what we'll do, Evan, turn and face and just mimic again. Put the arms the way you had them before. Put the one up and the one down, okay? So Evan's starting with them equal, right? And so the most obvious thing is he taking suggestion? I can watch as it happens that separation was occurring, right? And I'm assessing it that way. But there's way more assessment that can be done than that. It's not as simple as that. What I'm also watching to see how highly suggestible Evan is, I'm watching his face and I'm watching his breathing, okay? So as he's doing it, Evan's trained with me and he's done a lot of hypnosis with me and he's good and he's used to the sound of my voice. So Evan naturally starts to go into hypnosis when he does an exercise like this. And I see it happening with Evan because I see his eyes start to tremble and he's getting fluttering in the eyelid right away. And I also see, you can watch, whether it's easier with men because they have Adam's apples that show more, but even with women, you can see swallowing, increased swallowing as the neck muscles loosen up. There's a lot of people get an increased swallowing effect. So you're watching here with the arms, but you're also looking here to anything in this region that you can assess as well. Do the eyes start to flutter? Does the swallowing increase? With some people, now Evan has a collared shirt, but let's say you're at someone who doesn't have a collared shirt on and you can see down to their throat level more. You've got the carotid that runs down here. You'll see with some people the pulse will change. It'll start thumping and you can really see it pulsing. There's all kinds of little tells and tricks like this that you can look for to assess, is some kind of state change occurring? And so the more of those things that you see, the more likely you have a sense of like, okay, this person's doing pretty well. Now, if I'm doing this with Evan and I'm counting and talking, right? I'm doing what we call patter. I'm doing my pattern and the hands are still here. Well, that tells me what I need to know. And if maybe the hands have separated some, but I don't see the eyes trembling, I don't see the increased swallowing, I don't see the breathing change, I don't see the pulse change, I don't see any of those other things, then I'm like, okay, well, he is getting the desired effect, but he's not going into state naturally and easily, so maybe I'll let him continue, but he's not going to be my first pick. If we're, because picking people to be in a stage hypnotism show is sort of like having a draft. Like back when you were a kid and you were picking kids for the kickball team, right? It really is. It's like you want to pick the best candidates. So that's the stuff that you're looking for. Thank you, Evan. All right, so again, just to refresh, you get their legs set and stable, you make sure they're in a safe position and you make them aware that they're going to be balanced and in control, awake and aware the whole time. You set them up, get their posture up with the two arms up, one hand turned, the other. Now, do you have to have the right hand turned with the thumb up and the left hand over with the, no, if you want, you can make the left hand thumb up and the right hand, and there's no strict rules for that stuff. It's not like, oh, it's not going to work if I make the left thumb go up and the left palm go up. That's fine. You can do whatever feels right to you. I would say when you get started learning a test like this, follow what I do so that you have a structure. And then if you get to a point where you're like, it just doesn't feel right for me, I need to do it differently, then change it and do it differently. The keys are that you give clear directions, you set a clear expectation of what's supposed to happen, and that you have a confident pattern that runs throughout the procedure so that you're really directing the outcome that you want to have. And the way you do that is by practicing. So whatever you do, make sure you practice over and over and over again until you get confident enough that it comes through. Now, if you go back and you watch this video again, you'll hear a couple points where even though I've done this hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times, probably thousands of times at this point in my career, there are still points where I didn't have every word come out effortlessly. And that's because sometimes when I have just the tiniest moment where I notice something, I saw, oh, Evan's eyes are starting to tremble, it takes me off focus from my pattern. And that will happen. Don't let it shake you. Just get right back to it because they don't really care. They're not going to really care. They're going to just keep going and going and going. And the most important thing is that you stay confident and that you keep going. If you all of a sudden, you let it rattle you, you get worked up about it, then your voice will change. They'll hear it, and that's what they'll notice. And they'll be like, what's going on? Why is his voice shaky? Or why is her voice trembling? Or what's going on? And that's when things start to fall apart. You can say the whole wrong word. It doesn't really matter. If you just keep going and move on and be constructive from there, you'll be fine. All right? So That's arms rising and falling. Watch this 10 times. Practice it 100 times. You'll be awesome. Thanks.